Welcome to Uncommon Knowledge. I'm Peter Robinson. The classical scholar Victor Davis Hanson, a fellow at the Hoover Institution, is the author of more than a dozen books, including Carnage and Culture, The Western Way of War, and most recently, the father of us all, War and History. Also a fellow at the Hoover Institution, Peter Berkowitz is a political scientist and a scholar of constitutional law. He contributes frequently to the Weekly Standard and the Wall Street Journal. Victor, Peter, welcome. Segment 1, What Just Happened? In Tunisia, on December 17th, a street vendor named Mohamed Bouazizi protested the harassment he had suffered at the hands of local police by committing suicide, setting himself ablaze. Since then, the governments of Zine El Abidine Ben Ali, president of Tunisia for 23 years, and of Hosni Mubarak, president of Egypt for some 30 years, have been overthrown. A civil war has broken out in Libya. The king of Jordan has dismissed his cabinet, and protests have taken place in Bahrain, Yemen, Iraq, and Iran. Victor, how do we understand this?
Well, there's two things going on. One is we live in an age of Facebook, Twitter, Internet, so something that would be local in Tunisia now resonates all over the world. And in the case of the Middle East, whether it's monarchy, theocracy, military dictatorship, or thugocracy, as you see in Libya, they all have one common denominator. They deny people freedom, they've ruined the economy, and they've stolen from the people. And there's been this seething anger, and in some part, the demonstration of democracy in Iraq was a model, and what would have been a local prairie fire and turned into a conflagration.
Peter, contrast what's taking place in the Arab world in 2011 with the Velvet Revolution, the anti-communist revolution that swept Eastern Europe in 1989.
What you have in the Arab world today, for one thing, you have the impact of Islam, which of course we didn't have in the European revolutions, and we really don't know what the consequence is going to be. One of the developments in recent months that you left out, very important, is what happened in Lebanon, which is that Hezbollah took control of the Lebanese government.
Hezbollah is?
Hezbollah is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Iranian Republican Guard. It's a movement committed to bringing all of Lebanon under Sharia law and to indefinite resistance against what it regards as the Israeli invaders in Israel, not just in the West Bank and Gaza, but in all of Israel, the Jewish government of Israel, the Jewish state of Israel. So Hezbollah has taken over the government of Lebanon, ousted a pro-Western prime minister by the name of Saad Hariri, and installed what looks to be a Hezbollah puppet who is certainly good friends with the Syrians. This is a tremendous threat to freedom. So what you had in Europe was a clear and definite overthrowing of the alternative to Western-style liberal democracy and a clear determination to embrace Western-style liberal democracy. What we see in the Arab Middle East is a definite determination to get rid of authoritarian dictators, partly because as people are living in grinding poverty. What we don't know in this case is what the people want.
Let's stay with a moment for Egypt, because it's overwhelmingly the largest in population, 85 million in population, historically the center of the Arab world, cultural center of the Arab world. The historian Bernard Lewis noted in a recent interview that the Arab world has no history of democracy. 1,300 years of Muslim in the Arab world has produced zero democracies, except for the 1970s in Lebanon, and the Christian minority played a central role in that brief democracy. All right, Bernard Lewis, quote, "In Egypt, the religious parties have an immediate advantage. First, they have a network of communication through the preacher and the mosque, which no other political tendency can hope to equal. Second, they use familiar language. The language of Western democracies, for the most part, newly translated and not intelligible to the great masses. In genuinely fair and free elections, the Muslim parties are likely to win, and I think that would be a disaster." Close quote. Victor, what's going to happen in Egypt?
I don't think we know, but we have a lot of paradoxes that are going on in the region. One is that these odious dictators like Mubarak tend to be more liberal in classical terms than the population. So if we were to have a plebiscite, the people might reflect a level of religious intolerance, anti-Semitism, anti-Americanism, oppression against women that would not be true of the Mubarak government, despite its horrific human rights record. Another paradox we have in the region is that it's unlike Eastern Europe, where they were rebelling against a monolithic communism. They all had that in common, these various Eastern European countries who did have some experience with democracy in the 20s and 30s. Here we have these a potpourri, Iranian theocracy, Libya's crazy authoritarianism, Mubarak's pro-American military dictatorship, the Ba'ath Party in Syria. And so when we look at this situation, what's lacking on the part of the Obama administration is a principled, clear-cut, consistent support for constitutional, consensual government, independent judiciary, human rights, secular, transition without violence, and apply that blueprint. Instead, what we hear is Mubarak a dictator. Mubarak's not a dictator. He should have gone yesterday, should have gone today, should go tomorrow, should be a transition. Muslim Brotherhood, okay, secular, nonviolent. And the result of that, how it distills is, take last June in Iran, Obama apologizes for the Mossadegh incident and says, I'm not going to meddle in the internal affairs. Libya, a week and he's voting present for various reasons. Nevertheless, he's not expressing concern. And then finally he says, I think Mr. Gaddafi should go. That's like Churchill saying, I think Mr. Hitler should go. Of course he should go. But what are you going to do about it?